A baby screamed in row 23E, that piercing, desperate cry that makes everyone on a plane want to disappear. The man holding him looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, expensive suit wrinkled, hands shaking, completely falling apart. Other passengers were shooting daggers with their eyes. The crew kept walking past. But I couldn't. Because I knew that cry. The hungry, motherless kind that breaks something inside you. So I did what no one else would. I walked up to a complete stranger and offered to help. I had no idea that man was a billionaire. No idea his wife had just died. And I definitely had no idea that what I was about to do would change all three of our lives forever. My name is Brionna Hayes, and I'm a flight attendant. Been doing this job for 5 years, long enough to read people, to know when someone's just tired versus when they're drowning. That day, I was drowning too. 6 months earlier, I'd lost something I wasn't ready to talk about. Something that left my body still producing milk with nowhere for it to go. A cruel reminder every single day. So when I heard that baby's cry cut through the cabin noise, my body reacted before my brain could stop it. My chest ached, my arms felt empty. And suddenly, I wasn't thinking about protocols or professionalism or the fact that this man was a complete stranger. I was thinking, that baby needs help. And maybe, just maybe, I need to help him. I stood up, smoothed my uniform, and walked toward row 23E like I was walking toward my entire future. I just didn't know it yet. I didn't plan on being a hero that day. Heroes don't worry about whether their nail polish is chipping or if they remembered to submit their timesheets before boarding. But there I was, 3 steps from his row, and I couldn't stop moving forward. The man looked up as I approached, and God, the exhaustion in his eyes hit me like turbulence. Up close, he was younger than I'd thought. Maybe mid-30s. The kind of handsome that doesn't need effort, except right now effort was the only thing holding him together. His shirt was expensive but wrinkled to hell. His hair looked like he'd been running his hands through it for hours. The baby's face was red, scrunched, desperate. "Hi," I said softly, crouching beside his seat. "I'm Brionna. I work here, but I have some experience with infants. Would you like some help?" He stared at me like I'd just offered him oxygen on a depressurizing plane. "Please," he whispered. Just that one word, but it cracked right down the middle. I glanced at the bottle in his hand. Formula, wrong temperature, nipple flow too fast for a newborn. "May I?" He handed me the baby without hesitation. That should have been my first clue. The absolute trust. People don't just hand over their children to strangers. But desperation rewrites all the rules. The baby was tiny. Maybe 6 weeks old, if that. The moment I cradled him against my chest, adjusting his position, supporting his head properly, I felt it. That instinct I thought I'd buried under work schedules and practical thinking. My body remembered what my mind tried to forget. "Hey, sweet boy," I murmured, rocking gently, finding that specific rhythm. "Hey, it's okay. You're okay." I repositioned the bottle, tested the temperature on my wrist, adjusted the angle so he wouldn't gulp air. Then I touched the nipple to his lips and waited. Waited for him to root, to find it himself rather than forcing it. He latched. The cabin went quiet. Or maybe that was just in my head. "How did you—" The man's voice was hoarse. "I've been trying for 2 hours." "Wrong flow nipple," I said quietly, watching the baby's eyes start to flutter. "And he needs to feel secure. Babies sense panic." "I'm definitely panicking." "I know." I glanced up at him. "But he doesn't have to." We stayed like that, me feeding his son, him watching like he was witnessing a miracle. Other passengers had gone back to their phones, their books, their business. Chantel walked past with the drink cart and didn't even look our way. "What's his name?" I asked. "Aiden." His voice went softer when he said it. Aiden James. He's beautiful. He looks like his mother. The past tense landed like a brick. I looked up, found his eyes already red-rimmed, and suddenly the whole picture came together. The exhaustion, the desperation, the way he held that baby like he was terrified of breaking him. "I'm sorry," I whispered. He nodded once, jaw tight, and looked away. Aiden finished the bottle. I lifted him to my shoulder, supporting his neck, rubbing small circles on his back until he burped. Then his little body just melted into me. Within 2 minutes, he was asleep. The man shook his head. That's the first time he's done that. Slept, I mean. Without screaming himself unconscious. He was hungry and uncomfortable, now he's not. I said it simply, like it was nothing, even though my heart was squeezing itself stupid. Can you? He stopped, started again. Could you show me what you did? I've had 8 nannies quit in 3 months. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. 8 nannies? Jesus. It's not about wrong, I said carefully. It's about reading him. Every baby's different. Aiden needs to feel secure before he can settle. Some babies are easier, some make you earn it. Story of my life, he muttered. I smiled despite myself. I stayed there the rest of the flight, 2 hours holding his son while he slept, occasionally answering the man's questions about feeding schedules, sleep cues, diaper rashes. Normal things, human things. He wrote everything down in his phone like I was delivering state secrets. Before we landed, before I had to hand Aiden back and return to my actual job, he asked for my number. Just in case, he said. If I have questions. If I need help. I should have said no. I should have recommended a pediatrician, a parenting class, literally anything else. Instead, I took his phone and typed in my number. Call any time, I heard myself say. His smile was small but real. Thank you, Brionna. I mean it. You saved us today. I handed Aiden back carefully, watched him stir but not wake, watched the man cradle him with slightly more confidence than before. You're doing better than you think, I told him. He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. I returned to the galley, finished my shift, went home to my studio apartment like it was any other Tuesday. I didn't know that handing him my number would mean handing him my entire life. 3 days passed like normal. Work, sleep, meal prep for the week, a phone call with my mom where I didn't mention the man from the plane because what was there to mention? I helped a passenger. That's my job. Except I kept thinking about him. About the way his hands shook when he held that baby. About the past tense when he said his mother. About how someone could look that expensive and that destroyed at the same time. I was folding laundry in my apartment, romantic, I know, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Brionna? His voice sounded worse than on the plane, ragged. We met on the flight, with Aiden. I'm sorry to bother you, In the background, the screaming started. That same desperate pitch that drills into your chest. He hasn't stopped, the man continued, nearly shouting over the noise. Since yesterday morning. I've tried everything you told me. The bottles, the position, nothing's working. I think something's wrong with him, or me. Probably me. Is he eating at all? Maybe 2 ounces every 6 hours? He just fights it, arches his back, turns his head, screams. 2 ounces. My stomach dropped. Has he had a wet diaper? Yes. This morning, I think. You think? I'm trying to keep track, but everything's blurring together and I haven't slept and... His voice cracked. I don't know what I'm doing. I've tried 8 nannies. 8. They all quit. Said he's too difficult, too demanding. One told me I should just let him cry it out, that I'm spoiling him by responding. He's 6 weeks old. How do you spoil a 6-week-old? You don't, I wanted to say. You just love them until they feel safe enough to exist in this world. Listen, I said carefully. I don't usually do this, but I'm off tomorrow. I could come by, just for an hour, show you some techniques in person, maybe figure out what's, yes, immediate, desperate. Please, I'll pay you whatever. You don't need to pay me, just text me your address. He did. Right there, while we were still on the phone. I glanced at it and my brain stuttered. That was one of those neighborhoods. The kind with gates and security and trees that cost more than my car. Maverick? He said suddenly. What? My name. I just realized I never told you. I'm Maverick. Maverick Yates. The name tickled something in the back of my mind, but I was too focused on Aiden screaming in the background to chase it. Okay, Maverick. I'll be there tomorrow at 10. In the meantime, try skin-to-skin contact. Take off your shirt, hold him against your chest. Sometimes they just need to feel your heartbeat. My heartbeat, he repeated, like I'd suggested something radical. You're his whole world right now. Let him know you're there. A pause, then quieter. Thank you. After we hung up, I stared at my phone for a long moment. At the address that was definitely in the zip code where houses had names instead of numbers. I told myself it didn't matter. Rich people had babies too. Rich people struggled too. Money didn't teach you how to soothe a crying infant at 3 a.m. Still, I changed my outfit 4 times the next morning. The security gate should have been my second clue. I pulled up to a massive iron thing with a call box and a camera. Gave my name. Waited while someone verified I wasn't there to rob the place. The gate swung open with the kind of smooth silence that screamed money. The driveway was longer than my street. Trees lined both sides. Old ones, the kind that take decades to grow. The house appeared gradually, like a movie reveal. Not a house. An estate. Stone and glass and angles that defied physics. Wings extending in multiple directions. A fountain in the front circle that belonged in a European plaza. I sat in my 10-year-old Honda, engine running, genuinely considering whether I'd entered the wrong address. Then I saw him. Maverick stood in the doorway, Aiden against his shoulder, looking somehow more exhausted than he had on the plane. He'd followed my advice. His shirt hung open, the baby pressed to his bare chest. But Aiden was still crying, that thin, reedy wail that meant he'd been at it so long he barely had voice left. I turned off my car, got out, walked up those intimidating stone steps. Brionna, he said my name like a prayer. Thank God. Up close, I could see he hadn't shaved. Probably hadn't showered. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair a disaster. The 6-week-old had absolutely destroyed him. Can I? I held out my arms. He transferred Aiden over, and I felt it immediately. The baby was tense, his little body rigid with distress. I brought him to my chest, started that rocking motion, that specific rhythm that bypasses the brain and goes straight to infant instinct. Come inside, Maverick said. Please. I followed him through a foyer that could fit my entire apartment, marble floors, art on the walls that looked original, a staircase that curved like something from a movie. He led me to a living room that was all windows and uncomfortable-looking furniture. Everything was white or gray or that specific shade of beige that screamed designer. Nothing about this place felt like a home. The nursery's upstairs, he said, but I haven't been able to get him up there without him losing it completely. I sat on the edge of a couch that probably cost more than my car, still rocking Aiden, still humming. His cries were getting shorter, less frantic. When did you last eat? I asked Maverick. He blinked at me. What? Food. When? Yesterday? Maybe? Okay. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to feed Aiden. You're going to eat something. Then we're going to figure this out together. I can't just... Maverick. I looked up at him. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you collapse, who takes care of him? That landed. He nodded slowly, ran a hand through his disaster hair, and disappeared toward what I assumed was the kitchen. Aiden's cries had dissolved into hiccuping whimpers. I adjusted him, checked his diaper, clean, recently changed, and started examining him for signs of pain, reflux, anything physical. Nothing. He was just lonely, scared, missing something he'd never get back. Same baby. Same. Maverick returned with a protein bar he was eating mechanically, like his body had forgotten what hunger felt like. Tell me about the nannies, I said softly, still rocking. What about them? Why'd they quit? He sank into a chair across from me. First one said he cried too much. Second one said I was too involved, that I hovered. Third through seventh basically gave variations of, this isn't what I signed up for. The eighth one, he stopped, jaw tight. The eighth one told me he could sense I didn't want to be his father, that babies know, that he was reflecting my rejection. That's bullshit. His eyes snapped to mine. Complete bullshit, I repeated. He's 6 weeks old and grieving someone he never got to know. You're grieving someone you loved. That's not rejection. That's just loss. Something in his face crumpled, just for a second. Then he pulled it back together, swallowed hard, looked away. I don't know how to do this without her, he whispered. I know. Everyone keeps telling me it gets easier, that time heals, that I'll figure it out, but it's been 3 months and I'm worse at this than I was day one. Because you're trying to do it perfectly, trying to make up for what he lost, trying to be 2 parents. I shifted Aiden to my shoulder. He was almost asleep now, his body finally relaxing. But he doesn't need perfect. He just needs present. Maverick stared at me for a long moment. Will you stay? I said I'd stay for an hour. No, I mean... He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Will you stay longer? Not today. I mean, move in, be his nanny, full-time, live in. I have a whole guest wing completely separate. You'd have privacy. I'll pay you whatever you want. Name your price. I almost laughed. Maverick, I have a job. I'll match your salary, triple it. Whatever it takes. It's not about the money. Then what's it about? His voice rose slightly, desperate. Because I'm out of options here, Brionna. You're the only person who's been able to calm him, the only person who doesn't look at us like we're broken. You're not broken. Then why does it feel like we are? Aiden was fully asleep now, his breathing evening out against my neck. That sweet, innocent weight that makes you want to protect something with everything you have. I looked at Maverick, this man I didn't know, in this house I didn't belong in, holding his broken pieces together with pure willpower and desperation. I should have said no, should have recommended a professional agency, a therapist, a support group for widowed fathers, should have walked out that door and back to my normal, predictable life. Instead, I heard myself say, I need to think about it. He nodded. That's fair. Yeah, take your time. But when I tried to hand Aiden back, the baby stirred and started whimpering. Not crying, just protesting, like he knew. Maverick saw it too. He's never done that before, settled for someone. He did it for you, on the plane. No, he did it because you were holding him. I was just the one sitting there. We ended up on that couch for another 3 hours. Me showing Maverick every technique I knew, feeding schedules, sleep cues, how to read Aiden's different cries, how to swaddle tight enough to feel secure but not restrictive, how to pace the bottle, burp properly, recognize when he needed more than food. Maverick absorbed everything like his life depended on it, took notes on his phone, asked questions, actually listened to the answers. By the time I left, Aiden was sleeping peacefully in his father's arms. "Thank you," Maverick said at the door, "for everything. Call if you need me." "Brionna?" He stopped me as I turned to leave. "Whatever you decide, I meant what I said. Name your price. Not because I think money fixes everything, but because you're worth it." I drove home in a daze. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling of my 400-square-foot studio. Thought about that massive house, that terrified father, that baby who'd stopped crying when I held him. I thought about the look in Maverick's eyes when he said, "She would have loved you." Wait, he didn't say that. Not yet. But somehow, I already knew he would. I texted him at midnight. "I'll do it. But we need boundaries. Rules. This is professional." His response came immediately. "Whatever you need. Thank you. You're saving our lives." I said yes. Not for the money, though God knew it would change mine. I said yes because that baby looked at me like I was the answer. And maybe I needed to be someone's answer too. That's when I realized the exhausted man from row 23E wasn't just rich. He was Maverick Yates, and I'd just agreed to move into his world. Moving day felt surreal. My entire life fit into 4 suitcases and a duffel bag. Maverick sent a car, an actual car with a driver, but I refused. Showed up in my Honda, boxes rattled in the back seat, trying to pretend this was normal. The guest wing was bigger than most apartments. Bedroom, sitting room, private bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. Windows overlooking gardens I didn't know existed in real life. A closet I could literally walk into. "Is this okay?" Maverick stood in the doorway, Aiden against his shoulder. "If you need anything else, this is fine," I said, trying not to stare at the chandelier. "More than fine." "Good, because he's been asking for you. He's 6 weeks old. He can't ask for anything. He cried the entire drive back from the store. The second I said your name." He stopped. Maverick's smile was exhausted but genuine. "I think he knows." I took Aiden, felt that immediate settle, that exhale against my neck. My body remembered something my brain was still catching up to. The first week was adjustment, learning the house's rhythm, which rooms Maverick used, which he avoided. The west wing where Aiden's nursery lived, decorated in soft blues and whites that somehow felt cold despite the expensive everything. Staff that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Housekeepers, a chef I never saw, a groundskeeper who maintained those impossible gardens. And Aiden. Always Aiden. I fell into it faster than I expected. 2 a.m. feedings where I'd find Maverick already awake, pacing the nursery. 3 a.m., when Aiden wouldn't settle and I'd walk him through moonlit hallways. 4 a.m., when exhaustion made everything feel like a dream. Maverick watched me constantly those first days. Not creepy, more like studying, learning. He'd ask questions while I changed diapers, made bottles, rocked his son to sleep. "Why do you hum that specific song? How do you know when he's tired versus hungry? What made you so good at this?" I didn't have good answers. Just instinct. Just something in me that understood what babies needed because maybe I needed the same things once. Subscribe if you're invested in where this goes, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this. By day 5, something shifted. I came downstairs at dawn, found Maverick in the kitchen making coffee. His hair was wet from a shower. He'd shaved. Actually looked human instead of haunted. "Morning," he said, handing me a mug prepared exactly how I liked it. I'd mentioned it once. He'd remembered. "You look better." I slept 4 consecutive hours. Felt like a miracle. He leaned against the counter, steam rising between us. Aiden slept through the night. I know. I checked on him at 3. You were both out. You checked on us? I shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. Habit. Something passed across his face. Gratitude, maybe. Or something heavier I couldn't name yet. Brionna, he said quietly. I need to tell you something. About why you're here. About what happens when a woman helps a desperate man and his child. What do you mean? He set down his coffee. There's something you should know. About tradition. About what it means in my world when someone steps in like you did. My stomach tightened. Maverick? You're not just his nanny, he interrupted. Not anymore. Maybe you never were. The morning light caught his face, and I saw it. The fear, the hope, the desperate need for this to work. Then what am I? I whispered. He looked at me like the answer might break us both. Everything. Everything turned out to mean midnight conversations in the kitchen. We developed a rhythm neither of us planned. I'd come down for water after putting Aiden to sleep. Maverick would already be there, laptop open, pretending to work, but mostly just staring at spreadsheets that blurred together after 14-hour days. You should sleep, I'd say. So should you, he'd counter. But neither of us moved. The first real conversation happened on day 9. I found him at the island, head in his hands. Aiden's baby monitor glowing green beside him. Hey! I touched his shoulder without thinking. What's wrong? I forgot her voice. He didn't look up. Lydia's. I tried to remember what she sounded like and I couldn't. It's been 3 months and I'm already forgetting. I pulled out the stool beside him, sat close enough our arms touched. Tell me about her. What? Tell me about Lydia. Not what she looked like. What she was like. He was quiet so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, she laughed at her own jokes before delivering the punchline, made terrible puns, burned everything she cooked but kept trying anyway. She'd stay up all night coding and forget to eat, so I'd have to bring her food. His voice cracked on that last part. She sounds perfect, I said softly. She wasn't. She was stubborn and competitive and held grudges over board games. He finally looked at me, eyes red. But she was mine, and I was supposed to protect her. That's what I do. I fix things, solve problems, make things work. But I couldn't save her. Maverick. She died because of me, because I wanted a family, because I pushed for it. She died because sometimes bodies fail, not because you loved her. He stared at me like I'd said something revolutionary. The conversations grew longer after that, deeper. He told me about building his company from nothing, about the isolation that came with wealth, about friends who disappeared when he couldn't be their ATM anymore. I told him about growing up with parents who worked 3 jobs between them, about putting myself through school, about wanting more than just existing paycheck to paycheck. You could have done anything, he said one night, with that kind of drive. Why flight attendant? Because I wanted to see the world, meet people, matter to someone, even if just for a few hours. I shrugged. Sounds stupid now. It sounds beautiful. The way he looked at me when he said it made my stomach flip. Week 3, I caught him watching me rock Aiden to sleep, not studying anymore. Something else. Something that made the air feel thinner. What? I whispered. Nothing. Just... He stepped closer. I don't know what we'd do without you. Good thing you don't have to find out. Brionna. My name in his voice sounded different now. Waited. What are we doing here? I'm putting your son to sleep. That's not what I mean. I knew what he meant. I felt it too. The gravity pulling us closer every midnight, every shared laugh, every moment our hands brushed passing Aiden between us. We're not doing anything, I said, even though my heart was screaming liar. He moved closer, close enough I could smell his cologne, see the gold flecks in his eyes. Then why does it feel like everything? Aiden stirred between us, a tiny reminder of all the reasons this was complicated. I stepped back. We should maintain boundaries. Right, boundaries. But he didn't move, didn't look away. That night, lying in my too big bed, I admitted the truth I'd been avoiding. I wasn't falling for Maverick Yates, billionaire. I was falling for the man who forgot to eat when he was worried, who learned to change diapers on YouTube at 3 a.m., who looked at his son like he was the entire world, even when he had no idea what he was doing. I told myself it was gratitude in his eyes. I told myself a lot of lies back then. His friend showed up unannounced on a Tuesday. I was in the living room, Aiden on a blanket doing tummy time, when the door opened and a man walked in like he owned the place. Tall, expensive suit, the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. "Mav?" he called out. "Where are you hiding?" Maverick appeared from his office, surprise crossing his face. "Dane, didn't know you were coming. Been trying to reach you for 2 weeks. Figured I'd check if you were still alive." Dane's eyes landed on me, scanned, assessed. "And who's this?" "Brionna, Aiden's nanny." Maverick's voice had gone flat, guarded. "Right, the nanny." Dane's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Living in, I hear?" "Guest wing," I said, standing. "I should give you 2 privacy." "No, stay." Maverick moved closer to me, protective. "Dane was just leaving. Actually, I need to talk to you, privately." Dane glanced at me again. "Business." They disappeared into Maverick's office. I tried to focus on Aiden, on folding the laundry I'd brought down, on literally anything except the muffled conversation happening behind that closed door. But walls in houses this big are thinner than you'd think. "Think she'd be here if you weren't worth billions?" My hands froze mid-fold. "That's not—" Maverick's voice defensive. "Come on, Mav, you're not stupid. Girl shows up out of nowhere, moves into your house, plays mother to your kid. Wake up, she's positioning herself. You don't know her. I know the type. Sweet, helpful, conveniently available right when you're vulnerable. How much are you paying her?" Silence. "Jesus, that much? And she's living here rent-free, eating your food, probably already planning how to make this permanent. Get out. I'm trying to protect you." "I said get out." A door slammed. Footsteps. The front door closing with finality. I stood there, laundry forgotten, stomach churning. "You think she'd be here if you weren't worth billions? Is that what everyone thought?" What Maverick thought deep down when he looked at me. I made it to the kitchen before he found me. I was gripping the counter trying to breathe through the humiliation. "Brionna, is that what you think?" I spun around. "That I'm here for your money? That I'm some kind of opportunist?" "No. Because I was fine before this. I had a life, a job, an apartment that was mine. I know that." "Do you?" My voice cracked. "Or do you lie awake wondering if I'm just another person using you? If I'm counting down until I can cash in?" "Stop." He crossed the kitchen in 3 strides, hands on my shoulders. "Stop. I don't think that. I've never thought that." "Then why did you let him say it?" "Because he said it about everyone who's ever gotten close to me since I made my first million. My ex-girlfriends, my business partners, the guy who detailed my car. Dane thinks everyone wants something." "And you don't?" He was quiet too long. "Maverick, I needed to know," he said finally. "That's why I was in economy that day, on that flight. I needed to feel normal. I needed to know if anyone would care about my son, about me, without knowing who I was or what I had." His hands slid down my arms. "You did. You cared when I was just a desperate guy who couldn't feed his baby. You didn't ask my name, didn't Google me, just helped. I still don't care about your money." "I know." His voice went softer. "That's why Dane's wrong. That's why everyone's wrong. You're not here for what I have, Brionna. You're here despite it. What does that mean? It means this house scares you. The staff makes you uncomfortable. You still drive that Honda even though I offered you one of mine. You pay for your own groceries even though I told you not to. He smiled, sad and real. You're the first person in 10 years who's wanted less from me, not more. My throat was tight. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Be in your world. I don't fit here, Maverick. I don't know which fork to use at fancy dinners or how to talk to people who summer in the Hamptons. I'm a flight attendant from a family that thinks Olive Garden is fine dining. I don't want you to fit. I want you to be exactly who you are. He cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheek. The woman who wasn't afraid to help a stranger, who sings to my son at 2 a.m., who leaves notes on my coffee mug, reminding me to eat. That's just everything. He leaned closer. That's everything, Brionna. His mouth was inches from mine, close enough to feel his breath, close enough to make a choice that would change everything. Aiden's cry cut through the moment. We pulled apart, the spell broken but still humming in the air between us. I gestured toward the living room. Yeah. But neither of us moved for 3 more heartbeats. That night, I realized the danger wasn't falling for him. It was believing I deserved him. I found the photo albums by accident. Aiden was napping, Maverick was on a call, and I was looking for extra blankets in the hall closet. Instead, I found boxes, cardboard unlabeled, shoved to the back like someone couldn't bear to look but couldn't throw away. I should have closed the door, should have respected his privacy. Instead, I pulled one down. Wedding photos, her in white, him in a tux, both of them so young and stupidly happy. Vacation pictures, beaches, mountains, city streets. Her laughing at something off camera. Him looking at her like she was the entire world. Lydia was beautiful. Not magazine beautiful, real beautiful. Bright smile, intelligent eyes, the kind of woman who probably spoke 3 languages and ran marathons for fun. The kind of woman who belonged in Maverick's world. I kept flipping. Found photos of her pregnant, glowing, hand on her belly, while Maverick kissed her temple. The last photo was in a hospital room, her holding a newborn Aiden, exhausted but radiant. She died 6 hours after that picture was taken. I sat there on the hallway floor, album in my lap, and felt the weight of what I'd been pretending wasn't real. I was temporary, a placeholder, the help. She was forever. Maverick found me an hour later, still sitting there, mascara probably streaked down my face. Hey. He crouched beside me, saw the album, and something painful crossed his expression. I should have put those away. She was perfect. She was human. She was yours. I closed the album carefully. And I'm just the nanny who got too comfortable, who forgot her place. Brionna. I don't belong here, Maverick. Look at her. Look at this life you built together. I can't compete with that. I shouldn't even be trying. He took the album from my hands, set it aside, and pulled me to my feet. Come with me. Where? Just come. He led me outside, past the gardens, to a small grove of trees I'd never explored. In the center stood a bench, simple and wooden, facing a marble stone. Lydia Grace Yates. Beloved wife, extraordinary soul. Forever in our hearts. My breath caught. Maverick sat on the bench, pulled me down beside him. We sat in silence for a long moment, birdsong the only sound. I come here every morning, he said finally. Before Aiden wakes up, I tell her about him, about how he smiled for the first time last week, how he's starting to track objects with his eyes, all the things she should be seeing. Maverick. And lately, I've been telling her about you. His voice cracked. about how you saved us, how you make Aiden laugh, how you leave sticky notes on my laptop telling me to take breaks, how you reorganize the nursery so it actually feels warm. He turned to me, eyes red. And I feel so goddamn guilty. Because I'm falling for you, and she's been gone 3 months. 3 months. What kind of person moves on that fast? My heart was shattering. Someone who's still alive. She'd hate that I'm struggling. She'd hate that I hired 8 nannies who couldn't connect with our son. She'd hate— He stopped, laughed bitterly. She'd probably love you. That's the worst part. She'd see exactly what I see and be furious that I'm fighting it. What do you see? He looked at me like the answer was obvious. Home. I see home, Brionna. For the first time since she died, this house doesn't feel like a mausoleum. And that terrifies me. I took his hand, laced our fingers together. She gave you Aiden. That was her last gift. And maybe part of honoring that is letting yourself be happy again. Letting him see that grief doesn't have to be forever. You make it sound simple. It's not. It's messy and complicated, and probably too soon by everyone's standards. I squeezed his hand. But love doesn't wait for permission. It just shows up and wrecks your plans. Is that what this is? His voice dropped. Love? I should have deflected. Should have protected myself. Instead, yeah, I think it is. He cupped my face with both hands, searched my eyes for something. Doubt, maybe, or confirmation he wasn't alone in this. She would have loved you, he whispered. For loving him. For loving us. Then he kissed me, soft at first, tentative. Like he was asking permission from both me and the ghost watching over us. I kissed him back, tasting salt. His tears or mine, I couldn't tell. When we pulled apart, the sun had shifted, casting light across Lydia's grave. I'm scared, I admitted. Of what? That this won't last. That you'll wake up one day and realize I'm not enough. That I'm not her. You're not her, he agreed. You're you. And maybe that's exactly what we need. If this story is breaking your heart in the best way, subscribe. Because what comes next will test whether love can survive when the world decides it has an opinion. We sat there until Aiden woke, our foreheads pressed together, hands intertwined. Something shifted. The ghost between us became a bridge instead of a barrier. Back at the house, Maverick carried Aiden while I made dinner. Something I'd started doing because the chef's meals were too formal, too perfect. We needed normal, needed messy spaghetti and garlic bread and laughter over a baby spitting up on expensive shirts. That night, after Aiden was asleep, Maverick found me in the kitchen. Stay, he said simply. I am staying. No, I mean, stay. Not as the nanny, as us, whatever this is. I looked at this brilliant, broken man who'd lost everything and was somehow brave enough to try again. Okay, I whispered. Okay. He kissed me again, slower this time, like we had all the time in the world. We didn't know then how quickly the world would try to take it away. The article appeared on a Tuesday morning. I was feeding Aiden when my phone exploded. Texts from my mom, my sister, friends I hadn't heard from in months, all sending the same link. Billionaire's nanny, opportunist or ordinary? My stomach dropped. There were photos. Me and Maverick at the coffee shop down the street. Walking through the gardens, Aiden between us. One of us at Lydia's grave, his hand on my back. The article was brutal. Sources close to Yates say the flight attendant turned nanny moved in just weeks after meeting the grieving widower. With a reported salary in the 6 figures and full access to his estate, many are questioning her true intentions. She saw an opportunity and took it, says one anonymous source. A vulnerable man, a motherless baby, billions of dollars. It's textbook. They dug into my background, my salary as a flight attendant, my student loans, my parents' modest home, every detail weaponized to paint me as a gold digger. The photos were worse. Someone had edited them to look intimate, damning. My hand on his arm looked possessive. His smile at me looked naive. The comment section was a cesspool. She probably got pregnant on purpose. Give it 6 months before she's wife number 2. Poor baby, lost his real mom and got stuck with this. My phone rang. Mom. Brionna, honey, are you okay? These people, what they're saying. I'm fine, Mom. Are you? Because baby, this is bad. Maybe you should come home, just for a while, let things cool down. I can't just leave. Why not? If this man cared about you, would he let strangers tear you apart online? I hung up before she could hear me cry. My sister called next, then my best friend from college, then numbers I didn't recognize, reporters probably looking for a quote. I turned off my phone. Maverick found me in my room, throwing clothes into a suitcase. What are you doing? Leaving, before this gets worse. Brionna, stop! They think I'm using you. I spun around, tears streaming. They think I'm some opportunist who targeted a grieving widower, that I'm after your money, that I trapped you, that I'm… My voice broke. They're not entirely wrong, are they? What? I'm nobody, Maverick, a flight attendant who makes $30,000 a year. You're a billionaire. Of course people think I'm using you. Of course they do. Because why else would you want me? Because I love you. The words hung in the air between us. You don't mean that, I whispered. I've meant it for weeks. I just didn't know how to say it. He crossed the room, pulled the suitcase from my hands. I love you. Not despite who you are, but because of it. Because you see me, not my bank account. Because you love my son like he's yours. Because you make me believe I can do this. Be a father, be happy, be something other than broken. The world will never believe that. I don't care what the world believes. I do, my voice cracked. I care that people think I'm a vulture, that your friends think I'm after your money, that someday Aiden will read these articles and wonder if his father was just another rich man who got played. Brionna, I can't do this. I can't live in a world where every smile, every touch, every moment between us gets analyzed and judged and twisted into something ugly. I zipped the suitcase. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but I can't. Please don't go. You'll find someone better, someone who fits, someone the world will accept. I don't want someone better. I want you. I looked at him. This man I'd fallen impossibly in love with, this baby I'd come to see as mine, this life I'd never believed I deserved. Sometimes love isn't enough, I whispered. I walked past him, suitcase in hand, heart in pieces. He followed me to the door. Brionna, please. But I couldn't turn around. Couldn't look at Aiden sleeping peacefully upstairs, unaware his world was breaking again. I got in my Honda and drove away from the only place that ever felt like home. In my rearview mirror, Maverick stood in the doorway, watching me leave. I left before my heart could shatter any more than it already had. I left Aiden. I left Maverick. I left everything. 2 weeks felt like 2 years. I moved back into my studio apartment, returned to my flight attendant schedule, smiled at passengers, served drinks, pretended my insides weren't hollowed out. My phone stayed off except for work. I couldn't handle the messages, the articles, the constant notifications reminding me what I'd walked away from. My mom stopped asking when I was coming to visit. My sister stopped sending posts about knowing your worth. They could see it. I was a ghost going through motions. On a Thursday afternoon, I was preparing for a flight to Denver. Running through pre-flight checks, forcing my brain to focus on seatbelts and oxygen masks, instead of dark eyes and baby laughs. Brionna? My supervisor, Carol, appeared. Got a situation. Passenger booked the entire economy section. Won't say why. Just requested you specifically as lead attendant. My stomach tightened. Who? Didn't give a name, just said you'd understand. I walked onto that plane, and my heart stopped. Row 23E. Maverick sat there, Aiden in his arms, both of them looking at me like I was oxygen. The baby had lost weight. Dark circles shadowed Maverick's eyes. Worse than before. Worse than the plane where we met. What are you doing? I whispered. What I should have done 2 weeks ago. He stood carefully, Aiden stirring against his shoulder. May I have everyone's attention? Maverick, don't. But passengers were already looking. Some had phones out. Already recording. Of course they were. The billionaire on an economy flight was news. The billionaire with the controversial nanny was a scandal. My name is Maverick Yates, he said, voice carrying through the cabin. Some of you might recognize me from the news, from articles calling me naive, desperate, easily manipulated. He looked directly at me. They're not wrong. I am desperate, but not for the reasons they think. Please stop, I breathed. 3 months ago, my wife died giving birth to our son. I didn't know how to feed him, change him, keep him alive. I was failing him every single day. His voice cracked. Then on a flight exactly like this one, in this exact row, a woman I'd never met did something extraordinary. She helped. Not because she knew who I was, not because she saw an opportunity, but because a baby was crying and she had the skills to help. Tears were already streaming down my face. That woman moved into my home, taught me how to be a father, made my son smile for the first time, made a house feel like a home again. He shifted Aiden, pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. That woman is standing right there, and I let her walk away because I was too scared to fight for her, too worried about what the world would think instead of what I knew was true. Maverick. He opened the box. A ring, simple, beautiful, nothing ostentatious. You didn't fall in love with my money, Brionna. You fell in love with a terrified man who didn't know how to change a diaper, who called you at 3 a.m., panicking about diaper rashes, who learned everything from YouTube and still got it wrong half the time. His voice broke completely. You saved us, both of us. Let us save you back. The cabin was silent except for Aiden's soft coos. Marry me. No prenup, no conditions, no protecting my assets or hedging my bets. Just marry me. Be Aiden's mother. Be my partner. Be my family. The articles. I don't care about the articles. I care about the fact that my son hasn't eaten properly since you left. That he cries for you at 2 a.m. That I wake up reaching for you and finding emptiness. He stepped closer, one hand holding Aiden, the other extended toward me. I care that I found something real in a world of fake everything, and I'm not letting it go without a fight. Every phone was recording now. This would be everywhere by tomorrow. You chose row 23E, I whispered. I chose you. That day, every day since, and every day forward, if you'll let me. Aiden reached for me, little fist opening and closing, and I realized the world would always have opinions. Articles would always be written. People would always question. But this baby needed me. This man loved me. And I was done running from the only thing that ever felt right. Yes, I said. Yes? Yes. You idiots. Yes. He kissed me right there in row 23E, while the cabin erupted in applause and Aiden laughed between us. I said yes, not because of the ring, because he chose row 23E, because he knew that's where we started, and he wanted everyone to know that's where we'd begin again. 1 year later, the venue was small, my parents' backyard, decorated with string lights and wildflowers. Nothing fancy, nothing that required a team of planners or a six-figure budget, just family, real family. My mom cried through the entire ceremony. My dad walked me down a makeshift aisle whispering, "He's a good man, baby girl. I can see it." Maverick stood at the altar in a simple suit, Aiden beside him in a tiny tux, holding a pillow with our rings. The baby, not so much a baby anymore, kept trying to eat the pillow, making everyone laugh. I wore a dress I found at a boutique downtown, nothing designer, just something that made me feel like me. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Dane, who'd apologized 6 times and meant it once, raised his hand. Everyone froze. "I object," he said solemnly, "to not being named godfather." The tension broke. Maverick flipped him off. I laughed so hard I cried. We said our vows under an oak tree. Simple words. True words. "I promise to always choose row 23E, Maverick said, voice thick. "To remember where we started. To never let money matter more than moments." "I promise to believe I deserve this," I said. "To stop running when things get hard. To love your son, our son, like he's been mine from the beginning." When we kissed, Aiden clapped. Everyone said it was too soon, that we'd rushed, that a year wasn't enough time to build a marriage on grief and chance encounters. They were wrong. 6 months after the wedding, I found Maverick in the nursery, the new nursery, in the house we'd bought together, smaller than the estate, normal, with a mortgage and neighbors who borrowed sugar. He was rocking Aiden, now 18 months old, reading him a bedtime story in the voice he'd perfected, animated, ridiculous, pure love. "Dada silly," Aiden giggled. "Dada is very silly," I agreed from the doorway. Maverick looked up, smiled that smile that still made my stomach flip. "Come here." I crossed the room, settled into the chair beside them. "Mama," Aiden said, reaching for me. That word. Every single time it hit me like the first time. "Hi, baby boy." I kissed his forehead, breathed in that sweet toddler smell, shampoo and innocence. "He asked about the plane today," Maverick said quietly. "Well, sort of. Saw one flying overhead and said, 'Mama plane.' He's too young to remember. Maybe, but we'll tell him, every year on the anniversary. How his mama found us at 35,000 feet. His mama died giving birth to him," I said softly. It was important, keeping Lydia present, real, honored. "And his other mama saved us both." He reached for my hand. "He's the luckiest kid in the world. 2 moms who loved him enough to give everything." Aiden's eyes were drooping, that heavy, sweet descent into sleep. We put him down together, stood over his crib, watching him breathe. "I have something to tell you," I said. "Yeah?" I took his hand, placed it on my stomach. Still flat, still secret. His eyes went wide. "Are you?" 8 weeks. Brionna. He pulled me against him, face buried in my hair. "Another one. We're having another baby." "You sound surprised. You're aware of how this happens, right?" He laughed, the sound wet. "I'm aware. God, I'm so happy." We stood there swaying, wrapped around each other, while our sons slept and our second child grew and the life we'd built from tragedy's ruins breathed around us. The foundation launched that fall. The Lydia Yates Foundation for Single Parents, resources, support groups, emergency childcare, financial assistance. Everything Maverick wished he'd had those first impossible months. I ran it. Turned out flight attendant skills, crisis management, reading people, staying calm under pressure. Translated perfectly. We helped hundreds of families that first year, thousands the next. At the gala fundraiser, Maverick gave a speech that made everyone cry. My wife died and left me with the greatest gift, our son, but I was drowning, and if a stranger on a plane hadn't taken pity on a desperate man who couldn't feed his baby, I don't know where we'd be. He found me in the crowd. Love shows up in the strangest places, on planes, in crisis, in moments when you're too broken to see straight. This foundation exists because someone showed me that kind of love. Now we get to show others. The media covered it, not with cruelty this time, with respect. Former controversial nanny, now philanthropist, changing lives. I stopped reading articles about us, stopped caring what strangers thought. Once a month, we fly economy. All four of us now, Maverick, me, Aiden, and baby Lydia, named for the woman who made our family possible. We book normal seats, wait in normal lines, eat normal airplane peanuts. Why do we do this again? Aiden asks every time. To remember, Maverick says. Remember what? That the best things happen when you're not looking. When you're just existing. When you're desperate and broken and someone decides to be kind anyway. On our last flight, a woman across the aisle struggled with a crying newborn. Young, alone, terrified. I caught Maverick's eye. He smiled. I stood up, crossed the aisle, crouched down. Hi, I said gently. I'm Brionna. I have some experience with babies. Would you like some help? Her face crumpled with relief. Please. I took the baby, found the rhythm, whispered the song I'd learned from Aiden. Maverick watched from across the aisle, Aiden asleep against his shoulder, Lydia in his other arm. Our eyes met. His said, This is everything. Mine said, I know. Some love stories start with tragedy. Ours started with a cry at 35,000 feet and became the softest place to land. Two broken people, one desperate baby, and a single act of kindness that changed everything. We named our third child Grace, because that's what this was, what this is, what it will always be. Grace. If this story reminded you that love can bloom in the most unexpected places, that kindness changes everything, and that sometimes the family you build matters more than the one you lost, I'll be here, telling more stories that matter. Thank you for taking this journey with me. See you in the next one. 5 years later, Maverick sold his company. We bought an airplane. Now we fly families in crisis to medical treatments, reunifications, new beginnings. Row 23E is always reserved. For the next person who needs saving. For the next love story waiting to begin.